I just remembered as we were like going for a toilet break, there was one other like awkward moment.
Go on.
Okay, so we were in the girls' bar and they had like a few like magazine promotions for different idol groups in Japan. Right. And so my mum asks, "Oh, what is that?" And I go, "Oh, that's like they're promoting like an idol group in Japan. It's a pretty popular culture in Japan." And she asks, "Oh, what's an idol group?" And I'm like,
"Oh, that's a rabbit hole."
I'm like, how do I begin to explain this?
Is this like a chick idol or like underground idol group or like a mainstream idol group?
I'll be honest, I have no.
Even
like, I don't know. Do you want to explain the difference to me, Joey? Because I don't
know.
Really
it's like imagine if BTS wasn't that popular and they were more about catering to individual fans.
It's the difference between like, is it promoting like, you know, fucking Imagine Dragons or some like lesser known like SoundCloud artist? You know, that's the difference. Where it's like they both have their fan bases, but one is like more, you know, in the mainstream and like, you know, on TV and shit. And then there are ones where it's like they play at local venues to like very small crowds, but they still have a dedicated fan base kind of thing.
Right.
That's the best way to explain it.
Yeah, the way I ended up explaining it was like, okay, so it's kind of like it's kind of like a music group that caters towards a very specific audience that they try to get as invested in this group as possible in order to spend money and
that's
buy
a very like
it's
a very arbitrary way of saying it. But
yeah, because I was like, how do I explain like idol culture? And then like midway through my shitty explanation, she goes, "They look very young."
Well, yeah, they're typically like 19 to 25.
Like, you're correct on that, mother.
Yeah, they're normally really young.
Yeah. She was like, "Yeah, they look very young." And I was like, "Yeah." And then she was like, "They look like very, very young." And I was just like, I paused for a second, and I was just like, "Do I want to open this can of worms?" Pause for a second, and I just go, "Yes."
Now you should have just said like, "Oh, you know, all Japanese women look young."
But it does come a point when someone spends enough time in Japan, they're like, "What's up with all the kids stuff?" I've had a few friends say that when they've been here.
Yeah,
like,
it's true.
So what's up with that? And I'm like, well, that is a cultural can of worms that we can talk about. But we're going to be here.
I don't want to explain.
For like 6 hours.
Yeah. But that was like, I'm looking forward to seeing what other parts of Japanese culture I'm going to have to explain.
Can't wait for Sydney's mom to be like, "I want to go see these idol groups."
Dude, I was having dinner with someone and they asked me, they were like, "So why does it seem like nobody's really friends here?" And I'm like, okay, well, that's like 8 layers of culture that we need to dissect. We're like going back to school. We're talking about the work culture. We're getting through everything. And it was just like a whole, I realized when I was speaking about it, I was like, I should have just said something dumb. Like, I don't really like friends. Just to like, I don't really want to be friends.
They don't believe in friends.
Friendship's overrated. I should have done that because we were literally talking about it for an hour.
Right.
I was like, okay, no, but it's like this. And then obviously when you're working 12 hours a day, you have to hang out. Yeah. So that's why they force them to hang out with people. Like, what? It's like a whole.
I kind of realized, am I being that guy? Am I being that guy that's just like going way too deep into like a topic over like just a simple question?
Yeah.
You know? Did they at all? I don't know if you had this because I went to a restaurant with someone who was visiting, and I was like, I told them because I was like, I can just order if you want. Because I was like, they're going to freak out if you say something that they don't understand.
Yeah.
And he was like, why? And I was like, I don't fucking know why. Because they like the script. They like everything that happens in the way they want it to happen, okay? Yeah. I don't know why, but just let me order so they don't freak out and it doesn't get weird. And then they tried to order and they tried to take the menu and he was like, no, I want to keep on to it. And they were like, what? No, this is when we take the menu.
He's sequence breaking.
He's like, no, this is when we take the menu. He was like, no, I want to look at it. And I felt bad because I was like, the guy was doing how does this compute?
Looking around for the manager.
Like genuinely, He was like, what do I do? I was like, it's okay. We'll just eat. We'll look at the menu. It's fine.
Yeah.
This is how games must feel when like speedrunners start breaking the games
genuinely,
down, right?
Like,
it's like, what do we do?
I've clipped into the restaurant and I've already got the meal. Like, I wonder if they'll come across that at all.
Yeah. I did give them, a little bit of advice that like backfired a bit, because how do you explain the Japanese accent to someone who doesn't understand katakana?
I would say it in a very slow way. Like you would say
Yeah,
it
like you don't say cream cheese, you say cream cheese.
You just say it slower, like cream cheese, and they'll put it together, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes as well, the people who you're talking to, because you obviously very clearly look foreign, they're expecting you to say it in the foreign way anyway.
Yeah.
So sometimes if you say it in the Japanese way, they kind of get confused. Weirdly, I know it sounds
literally me every time.
It sounds hard. Yeah, it sounds hard to believe, but genuinely, like it's like when you're. Like when you're you're in the UK or something, you're in like a country, and then you overhear a conversation, and you're like, "That sounded like a different language," but it wasn't. Right? Like it's weird. I don't know how.
No, I get it. Like sometimes
the expectation messes with what you're like actually hearing.
Yeah, so I mean, I get that with Korean a lot. Like, there's been so many instances where I would hear someone in public like what I think is them speaking Japanese, but it's actually Korean and vice versa.
Yeah.
And it's bizarre every single time it happens. The one that's even weirder is when I think they're speaking Korean, but they're actually speaking in Japanese.
No, I've had that as well.
Yeah.
I've overheard conversations where I think they're speaking a foreign language.
Yeah.
For some reason, how my brain heard those words, but no, they were speaking English.
It's so weird.
I get that with Vietnamese a lot.
Yeah.
Like every time I hear Vietnamese, especially Vietnamese, I like look up because I'm like, oh, someone's speaking Thai, and then I realize it's a completely different language.
Right,
it's
right.
like they're saying words I should understand, but it's something about it just doesn't comprehend in my mind.
I think what it is like the inflections are similar.
Yeah.
But the
Oh,
words
it's exactly the same.
themselves are
Yeah.
different. Like same with Korean. Like with Korean is like the inflection is so close to Japanese.
Yeah.
But it's just the words and like some sounds they make are just like, oh, that's not Japanese.
Yeah.
The fuck is this?
The fuck is that?
Yeah, I think, have you ever seen that video where it's kind of like, it's like what English sounds like to people who don't speak
Yes.
English? That's exactly
I
like,
love that video.
that video just like unlocked another part of my brain to realize, oh, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
You know, this is what people hear, because that's kind of a very similar feeling to what I hear when I hear someone speaking Vietnamese. I'm like, oh, wait, Thai, no. why do I not understand this? What?
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting when I go to Vietnam for the first time, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're going for the first time to Vietnam this year as well, aren't you?
Yes, yeah. I'm going to Vietnam for my mom's 60th birthday because for some reason I'm the only one in my family who's never been to Vietnam. My sister has been like she's like hiked across Vietnam like a number of times during school, and like my parents have been like 4 or 5 times, and I'm like,
Oh, but the food is so
I'm like,
good.
where the fuck was my invite? Yeah, so I'm looking forward. I'm there for like 2 weeks.
Southeast Asian food sounds so good.
Oh, dude, Vietnam's gonna be lit. It's gonna be so good. I'm so excited for it. That's not happening for a while, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So I've learned my lesson next time. Okay,
Why
next
didn't
time I'll
why didn't you
pick-
recommend Google Translate?
Oh, I did recommend Google
Oh, okay,
Translate.
okay.
Yeah, for like menus and stuff. I was just saying, just in case you need to like enunciate something. I'm like, how can I explain katakana, the katakana kind of like English, you know?
Yeah.
And now, because like now I realize if I want to explain to someone, if they're into weeb culture, just say it. Just be like, say it in what you think is like
Anime.
weeb. Just turn full weeb.
Just turn full
and
weeb.
don't afraid to turn, because I've seen people. The realize I went down this route because I've seen people go down the route of just saying the words slower, but just completely like keeping the English accents.
Yeah.
Like when I've seen people like try to order like Coke or something, Coca-Cola, and they say Coca-Cola, and then they try to say slowly, and it's still like Coca-Cola, and you know that doesn't register.
Yeah,
but if you
yeah.
say Corda, you know, which is like
Which
a
is
more
Coke,
like a more Japanese like katakana kind of accent, people get that. And the best way I can kind of like describe that is that it just sounds what you think weebs sound like, you know? I don't know how else to explain it.
I had that happen to a uni friend of mine who I brought to Japan for the first time. And
Yeah.
we were at a Starbucks and he wanted to get a milk tea.
Oh.
And he was at the front and he's like, oh, can I get 1 milk tea, please? You know, super Australian.
Yeah.
And the woman was just like, sumimasen, what the fuck did you just say?
Yeah.
And then he turned to me and he's like, how do you say milk tea in Japanese? And I'm like, miruku tea.
But okay, here's the thing, right?
And so he turned around and was like, miruku tea? It's just like, oh, miruku tea.
Here's what I've learned from learning a language, right? If you don't speak the language, do not say other words other than the thing you are trying to convey.
Yes.
Like if you want a milk tea at a Starbucks, don't say, can I have a milk tea? Just say milk tea.
Yeah.
Because then what you're trying to, you're putting emphasis on the communication of just this one thing. You're not, because it's going to scare them if you say all this other shit
that they don't understand.
They're like, oh, what about a milk tea? Like, does you want me to throw it away? Like, you know what I mean? Like, obviously it's not there, but like you're adding in confusion.
Well, they might not even hear the word. Right?
Yeah. So it's like, just say the thing you want. I know it's going to make you feel like an idiot, but you are. You don't speak the language. You're basically a toddler.
Speak like what you would put into a Google search bar, basically.
Yeah.
Just the keywords only. That's all you need.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Japan is getting a lot more katakana in its vocab in everyday use. But it's such a gamble. You never know which words they're using.
Yeah.
Like certain words, you're like, oh, okay, they chose this word. All right, cool. Like they use the word. Sometimes like they use the word assist. Sometimes
assisto, yeah.
Sometimes it's like, why that word? Like, why the fuck assist? Like, why was that the word you chose to bring over?
I think that's probably because of sports.
Maybe, and like task. Task. They use task a lot.
They use multitask as well, which is multitask.
And they use support.
Support. Yeah, it's just weird the words they choose to bring over and the words that they often try and integrate into the language.
And it's not just English words either that they do that for.
So, true.
You know, they use like arubaito, which is a German word.
Yeah, that's an odd choice.
Or like fucking pang, right, for bread.
Oh yeah,
they do.
And pimang as well for like bell peppers. Like those are all European words.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I know the bell pepper one.
Yeah,
and then luckily in Starbucks you could say soy milk.
Yeah, soy milk.
Soy milk.
You don't have to say.
Don't say soy milk. Say soy milk.
Soy milk.
Yeah.
You have to say gyunyu, which it's just so annoying to say. It's just an unnecessarily long word for
gyunyu.
Gyunyu for soy milk. It's just
gyunyu is just milk.
Oh, sorry. It's a tonyu.
Tonyu.
You can just say soy milk.
Yeah.
And they're like, damn. We're like bougie.
This kind of motherfucker.
To them, that's like fromage for us in English. It's like the fancy version of cheese. Yeah. Omelette du fromage in France. And they're like, soy milk latte. Oh, get a load of this guy. Getting the soy milk lattes, dude.
Damn.
Sometimes you do go to like French places and you actually see like katakana fromage.
That's when you get fucked though, because you're reading the katakana in a French restaurant and it's katakana for French. And you're like, fuck, I didn't know this shit in French.
That fucks me up so many times.
But like if it was in English, if it was like in the Roman alphabet French, I can normally kind of figure out a little bit what they're talking about, because I'm like, I know these letters kind of the noise they make, so I can kind of put it together.
But if you see like quattro fromage, you're just like, what the fuck is that?
But I had a friend who he's white guy married to an Asian woman, and when he went to, I think it was like France or Germany, he said like, oh yeah, it is a little bit of an advantage knowing English, because you can kind of figure out roughly kind of what the stuff is from the words,
right?
Because you can read it. Like you can maybe maybe not German, but like French, you can kind of figure out roughly what they're maybe saying. You're like, it's an omelette, I think. It's like an omelette. It's an advantage. And whereas, if you're used to reading Chinese characters or Japanese, it's a lot harder to be like, wow, okay, what the fuck am I reading?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't even have like anything close to a frame of reference to like build off of, you know?
And then on top of that, we're like, at least Japan is great with signs. They put signs everywhere and symbols. They love putting symbols everywhere. In the UK, holy shit, we don't got shit. You got nothing in the countryside. Good luck.
That's true, actually. I didn't realize that until you said that.
Like, you don't realize how like almost foreigner-friendly Tokyo is at times, with how good it is for helping you get around. And how they prefer to use like pictures outside and plastic models and stuff. Like, dude, it's so nerve-wracking going into like a restaurant in the UK or in France, because you're like, bro, I don't know what the menu is. I have no idea.
I can't read any of it.
And because a lot more often they don't even show you the menu outside. So you're just like, I don't fucking know if it's good. I'll find out when I get in. And then it's no pictures. Not that I needed pictures. I'm not a toddler and I know what the stuff is, but it would be nice to kind of see the portions and the size. And what we're kind of
like a frame of reference.
Yeah, what we're working with here. I want to see, because sometimes people make like certain dishes and they look like ass, and then other places the picture looks amazing. And like, damn, it looks good. I want that thing.
For sure.
Yeah, but that's been pretty much everything I've been up to.